Hello everyone, welcome to Coffee Breaks in the Air. My name is Sophie Maes. I'm the head of the Immigration and Global Mobility Group within Ius Laboris, and each month, as you know, I have a little chat with some of our members to talk about recent developments in global mobility. And I'm very happy today to have my colleague, Ester Vets. Actually, we work in the same firm. Ester Vets, Senior Associate in our firm, and we will talk about some important recent developments in immigration in Flanders. But perhaps, Esther, if you could tell us, because immigration in Belgium is quite complex, can you give us a bit more insight on how it works?
Of course. So in Belgium, you have the two levels. So first and foremost, you have the right to enter Belgium, but also the right to reside in Belgium, which is federal. So it's the immigration office who is competent for this. And then you have the regions who are competent for the authorization to work in Belgium. So you always have to think in those two steps. Does the person have the right to enter in Belgium, reside in Belgium, and then, which is federal, and then of course you have the competency of the regions. Is this person authorized to work in Belgium? And there you see a lot of differences between the regions. So you have, of course, the Walloon region, the Brussels capital region, the Flemish region, and very small, the German community. And we see that the regions before they were quite similar, but with all the changes, we see that they are getting more and more divergent. And then we have the recent change in Flanders, which makes it more different even.
So yes, so recent change in Flanders. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So the change has entered into force approximately a month ago, so 1st of May 2024. And the most important change is actually, so it's in three important points that have changed. So first, it's to have certain categories that are attractive, so the highly skilled categories that we want on the Belgian market. So we have changed, or the Flemish government has changed the conditions and made it a bit more attractive or easier. Then you have more control. So we have seen that in certain files there were some problems because there was illegal employment or there were conditions that were not respected. So we also have changes there. And then we also have European directives that have been revised, and of course the Flemish government has also introduced these changes in the legislative framework. So just in a nutshell, for example, the attractive categories, so the profiles we really want on the Belgian market, the changes there are for highly qualified personnel. They have, for example, said, okay, we have the certain diploma that is necessary. Before it was a bachelor degree, so 3 years. Now they have stated, okay, maybe it's not that necessary to have these 3 years. You can also have a higher education in 2 years. So this is accepted as well. Mm-hmm. There is also a second condition for highly qualified personnel, and it is the salary threshold. So if someone comes to Belgium, a certain salary threshold needs to be reached. And here they have stated for certain categories, we have a lower threshold. So before it was for people or for employees younger than 30 and for nurses. And now they have also stated, okay, we do want this for other categories as well. And they have added teachers who are employed by an institution recognized by the Flemish community. And then another category that had a lot of changes is the European Blue Card. So this actually is also a highly qualified person who comes to Belgium, but it has the big advantage that you do not need to renew if there is a new employer. So the first year of employment, you only have an information duty when there is a change of employer. And then after a year, this person can work for every employer in Belgium.
And is it used often, the European Blue Card?
Well, one might think that it would be a very frequently used card, but actually we see in practice that the highly qualified personnel is still the most used, and that the European Blue Card is actually not that frequent in Belgium. I think it is mainly because, of course, as an employer, you have to apply for the single permit. You have the burden of the cost of the single permit. And if your employee leaves after a few months to another employer, then might be a disadvantage of this permit. But this is one of the examples, the European Blue Card, where they have made it more attractive, but also compliant with a new directive. So they have, for example, they have stated, okay, for now we have the 2 years. Before it was 2 years before you could change jobs. Now it's only 12 months. They have also changed, and this is a very important one for me, that not necessarily a university degree is required, but also certain experience can suffice. So in what we saw sometimes was that people were very highly skilled in information and technology, but they did not have a degree as such. So now the European directive has implemented that these people, if they fall within certain ISCO code, a certain very specific experience in information and communication technology, that they can also apply for this permit without having the university degree. And then, of course, you have a few other conditions. I think the most important ones are that you have quite a high salary threshold. So just to give you an idea, before it was 120%, now it is 130, which is approximately 60,000 euros per year, which is quite high. So I think this might be a disadvantage. But for the other parts, it has become more attractive because they also have added a short-term mobility. So what does it mean? It means that someone who works in Belgium, has a European blue card in Belgium, they can go to other European countries on short-term mobility for 90 days on behalf of their employer. So this might also be an advantage. And also for the person themselves, they can move countries quite fast. After 12 months, they have a more easy procedure to move countries with the European blue card.
And so that was the European blue card. Perhaps there are other changes as well, as we know. Can you perhaps explain also a bit what we think are the most important changes in practice?
I think the most important change in practice is the change to the so-called labor market test. So the category that is, we call it the other category because it's the category that if you don't fall within one of the highly qualified, attractive profiles, then you fall within this other category. And then under the old legislation, you had the labor market test of 6 weeks that it needed to be published on the website of VDAB. And then, and during the whole application, to prove that this profile could not be found on the Belgian and European market. Now, as of 1 month, they have implemented more conditions. And if the conditions are not fulfilled, the application is inadmissible. So what are these conditions? I think the most important one is that they have limited this to the bottleneck professions list of VDAB. So currently we have 241 professions on this list. If the profession is not on this list, the file is inadmissible. Then also for the labor market test, it's no longer 6 weeks, now it's 9 weeks. So also here it takes a longer time, which makes it 9 weeks plus the time it takes to apply for the single permit, which can take 4 to 5 months sometimes. So it's quite a lot of time that it would take for this to apply for this other category. And then another change here is that it's only possible for lowly skilled or middle skilled labor. So for people who do not have a degree or a higher degree, it's not possible anymore to apply for this category. So I think this will be the most important change, that it's gotten very difficult actually to fall within this framework or of the other category, or most countries know this as the labor market test.
Mm-hmm. And are there any other things that you want to say, or because in relation to employment of third country nationals?
I think the last thing I want to say is be aware that the regulation has also gotten stricter. So now we have talked about the attractive profiles, also about the other category that has strengthened. But next to this, you also have certain control mechanisms. So for example, for the other category, but also the bottleneck professions of the Flemish region, there are more documents that need to be submitted. So the employee himself or herself will be controlled more strictly. There will be certain degrees, resume that need to be submitted to the Flemish region. And also there are more possibilities to refuse or to revoke a single permit. So companies, young companies who are are not that credit worthy, let's say, they can be confronted with a refusal, or and that might also have an impact. And also, one last point, I think it's very important to note that if something changes during the employment, or if the employment of the third country national is terminated, be aware that you need to inform the government of this. So within 15 days of the change or the termination, the Flemish government must be notified that there was a change or a termination. And since another recent change, there are also sanctions applied. So this one is very important to take away as well.
So Esther, thank you very much to explain to our audience the changes in Flanders. So I hope you found it interesting, and thank you for having this chat. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.